Welcome back, Starcitizen. It's your boy Skippy on PC, and today we're going to look into a soldier's guide to surviving Pyro. Now, a lot of you guys know that I spent a fair amount of time in the military. I have multiple tours in Afghanistan and the Middle East, and I would like to impart some of this brilliant knowledge that I learned in how to actually survive Pyro. Caveat to this, obviously not everything in real life can translate into a game. There's basic things like the fact that we have more peripheral vision and situational awareness in real life than we do in the video games. But I thought in this video I'll take whatever I can out of my real life experiences in combat and war and my training, apply it to Pyro, and give you guys a bit of parting wisdom. And I thought we'll go over one such instance before we cover off a lot of things that I can bring from my real life experience in the military to Pyro. And the first one is don't spawn at Paradise Cove. Now, why don't you want to spawn at Paradise Cove, you say? Because there are some bugs at the moment that allow players to shoot in the hab locations. So you'll spawn and probably open your hab and get a face full of lead. Now, I predict this will probably get changed when the new patch gets updated or when Pyro in the future gets updated. I don't know if this was meant to actually happen like this, but at the moment, people could just spawn at Paradise Cove habs and shoot you there, take your gear, and just rinse and repeat. If you do get stuck at Paradise Cove and you can't get out of your hab, the best thing to do is call a buddy onto the server, try and get in there, clear it out, and escort you out there. Go to a different place. Now, there's one thing that was drilled in us quite early on in your military career, and that's always have a battle buddy. Now, flying alone in Pyro is never a good idea. The best thing you can do is wait until you have a friend online that can cover your back and always fly in pairs. Why? Because if you come across anything in Pyro, it's most likely, as long as you're in a pair, you may be able to take it on, or one of you will be able to help the other get away. But the biggest rule in the military was always to make sure you have a battle buddy no matter where you go. This even goes into groups. If you get out of your ship, always have someone with you when you're going into a hab or into a outpost location. That way, if someone tries to ambush you, you may be able to use a fighting withdrawal to get yourself out of that situation. What is a fighting withdrawal, you say? That's where one person places down superiority of fire whilst the other one retreats, and then when they are set, they supply some superiority of fire, and then you keep bounding back until you get yourself out of that situation, or you get into a ship and fly away. So I think that's probably the biggest thing you can probably help yourself is ensure that you at least have one person to cover your back whilst you're in Pyro. Numbers matter. Now, there's a thing in the military we call a force multiplier. Every military in the world will not engage in combat unless they have a 3-to-1 odds of winning. There is no point engaging in combat if you are underhanded or understrength unless you're forced into a situation where you have to. And this is where we have what's called a force multiplier. What is a force multiplier? Well, that can either be numbers, tanks, equipment, intelligence, or a myriad of other things that help you gain a superiority over the enemy on the battlefield. The easiest force multipliers you can see are obviously ships, the tanks, or simply numbers. Always ensure that you have more firepower or more people on the ground to support you in any situation that you move into. Now, force multipliers don't just have to be physical items or physical equipment or numbers. It can also be tactics. So, ambushing somebody, if you're in a really good position, you have fire superiority over them, is also a great tactic. You may be able to take on more numbers than you normally would if you have the element of surprise. And these are all the sort of things that commanders on the ground take into consideration before going into battle. And something that you should in Pyro as well. Ensure that you've always got more numbers than you need. Ensure that if you do engage in any combat, you have fire superiority or number superiority. And if you don't, there is no shame in running away. Disengaging from a combat, getting more numbers, or coming back with more force than you had before is always a better solution than dying on the battlefield. So, my friends, when you get out there, make sure you have more than anyone else. The next one I think everyone in the military always hates. Overwatch. Always ensure that you have Overwatch whenever stopping anywhere. You'll see that all the time when you play with me. I'll always make sure that someone is left in the gunner seat of the ship that can respond to any threat that comes into our AO whilst we're operating. This goes into the military too. We always post sentries up around our camp wherever we're camping, or if we stop for a short halt or a long halt, you'll post sentries out to ensure security. Pyro's no different. Not posting security means that someone could sneak up on you, or they could jump in onto the same location as you and start shooting your ship up whilst you're running like a headless chook back to your ship, trying to jump onto the elevator and start her up and fly away. And most times, they'll probably destroy your ship before you even get there. So the best thing you can do is ensure that you leave someone like your battle buddy, or have 3 people and leave 1 in the ship to overwatch whilst you go and do whatever you need to do at whatever location you're at. Shoot first, ask questions later. Now, I know this is going to get a lot of controversy because everyone's like, oh, everyone in Pyro's a bunch of meta hobos. But I always go subscribe to the principle of shoot first, ask questions later. Now, not everybody will do this. You can try and give them some sort of leeway. Every situation is a little bit different. But at the end of the day, everyone's a threat in Pyro. So neutralizing a threat in the battleground is always better than leaving a threat laying around to shoot you in the back the moment you turn around. A conversation with an enemy without a gun pointed at you is always a better conversation. Make sure you keep the eye on the prize. It's always better to send someone to recon the area you're about to jump to first, especially if you have sensitive data or expensive equipment on board. Send someone that is in a cheap ship that doesn't really matter with no gear ahead of you to recon the area before you jump in. Now, the army does this a lot. That's why they send soldiers, because a soldier is much cheaper than a multi-million-dollar tank, so they send a soldier in to check out the area, and then they'll drive the big expensive equipment through. It's always better to lose someone with no equipment in a shitty ship than it is to lose an entire 890 jump because you jumped into a party of pirates. Now, it's always better to go into a firefight when you're organized. Ensure that you got all the gear you need for any situation that might arise whilst you're going through Pyro. Delegate someone as a medic that doesn't go forward, that has more medical supplies than anyone else. Delegate someone that has heavy weaponry, that can take in a grenade launcher or a rocket launcher or something like that. Delegate someone as the heavy vehicles technical that can actually jump into the vehicle or a embedded fighter to go deal with a threat. By delegating these people out, everyone knows their tasks the moment they engage in combat. This allows for quick and rapid response to any situation that arises whilst you're flying around Pyro, and usually result in someone else disengaging or defeat of the other person. So it's always better to go ahead, know your roles, have all the equipment you need to do for any situation whilst you're flying around Pyro. So a quick recap of my soldier's guides to Pyro. Always have a battle buddy. Never fly alone, never go anywhere alone, and have someone covering your back. Numbers matter. Ensure that you've got more force or more numbers than anyone that you're engaging or anyone else in the server. Overwatch. Ensure that you've always got someone covering you or someone in the ship that can react to any situation whilst you're doing your thing on the ground. Shoot first, ask questions later. An enemy without a gun is an enemy with a better conversation. Organization is key. Ensure you always have your roles and responsibilities laid out before going anywhere. Anyway, these are my tips for Pyro that might keep you and your friends safe whilst you're flying around in that chaotic space. If you like this video, give it a subscribe and come tell me all about how you've been experiencing Pyro, whether you like these tips or if you've employed any of them yourself, and if they've worked. Tell me what works, tell me what doesn't, and we can keep on rolling in Pyro. Until next time, it's boy Skippy, and I'll see you guys out there.